Hola, 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 probando la... Hola, hola, hola. Sí, oye. Probando, 1, 2, sí. Se oye. Espero que se oiga bien. Vamos a seguir donde lo dejamos el otro día. Estábamos haciendo SensioCoin, nuestra propia criptomoneda. Y en el último directo llegamos ya a programar la moneda y a venderla, si no me equivoco. O a comprarla. Y hoy tenemos que aprender a venderla. O sea, estábamos siguiendo este tutorial de aquí. No sé si lo dejé en la descripción del vídeo, quizá no. Si no, ya lo pondré luego. Y nada, pues vamos a seguir.
But for now, I'm just going to leave this as is, the test pass, and we're going to stop there for now. Okay, so let's continue on. We worked on this eSwap contract and we created the buy tokens function. So if you look here, this is the buy tokens function we created last time. Now we're gonna create a sell tokens function. So we'll do that just like this. We'll go ahead and give ourselves some space here. All right, we'll say function. Say sell tokens, just like we did with the buy tokens function. And I'm gonna even go up farther on the screen. Okay, so what needs to happen inside this function? Well, basically, we want to do the opposite of what we did here. So instead of transferring tokens from the eSwap exchange to the investor, we want to do it the other way around. We want to transfer tokens from the investor to eSwap, and then we also want to give the investor Ether. Okay. So we need to write function that, or sorry, some code that performs a sale. So perform sale. So how do we do that? Well, first we can give the user Ether. We can say msg.sender, say transfer, and then some sort of Ether amount. Okay, so we haven't defined this yet, but that's the core code that we're going to write in order to give the user Ethereum. Okay, so don't forget msg.sender is the person calling this function. We saw that in the last section here. All right, and so transfer is not a function that you've seen yet inside of Solidity for Ethereum. Okay, we saw it here on the token. This is the transfer function for ERC20 tokens. We'll pull that up right here. Transfer, right? But here what we're doing is calling transfer for Ether, the native cryptocurrency of the Ethereum blockchain. So what we're doing is saying send Ether to the person calling this function. And we want to tell it, how much. We haven't defined this amount yet, all right? So what we're going to do is pass in an amount here, uint amount, all right? So basically we're going to say, how many tokens are they selling, right? Let's say they want to sell 100 tokens. Well, they'll pass in 100 here. So we can calculate this Ether amount just like we calculated this token amount. We'll just do the opposite. Say calculate the amount of Ether to redeem. We'll say uint Ether amount equals amount. All right, this is the number of tokens that they're selling. So we're going to take the number of tokens they're selling and we're going to divide it by the rate. Okay. So remember here, we multiplied the amount of Ether that they're going to send by the amount of, sorry, let me back that up. We multiplied the amount of Ether they sent when they went to buy tokens by the rate to determine the token amount. So when they sell the tokens, we work backwards. We take the amount of tokens that they want to sell and we divide it by the rate to get the Ether amount that they receive whenever they sell the tokens. Okay. and then we send them that much, right? So that sends Ether to the investor, but now what we want to do is also transfer tokens from the user, the investor, to the ETHSwap exchange so that it gets the tokens back. It's selling the tokens, so we have to send the tokens to the exchange, and we also have to give Ether to investors. So it's a two-way street, right? So how we do that is we say token, and then here we did transfer, token transfer. All right, we'll just do this for now, all right? And then what we want to do is swap this, all right? So we could say, token amount here, and then swap them. And when I say swap, I mean, instead of sending it to MSG.sender, we can send it back to the smart contract. So we say address this, right? We could do that, right? And that would essentially transfer the tokens to this, which is the smart contract, right? And then the amount. But this isn't going to work. So here's why. Basically, whenever the investor calls this function, it doesn't necessarily, we can't let the smart contract call the transfer function on an ERC20 token like this on behalf of the investor. Right? It's not how ERC20 tokens work. Otherwise, you could just hide transfer functions inside of smart contract calls without people necessarily knowing about it, and you could send your money away. So in order to avoid that, ERC20 has a special function called transfer from. All right, and so basically this is what allows other smart contracts to spend your money. So we have to use this transfer from function inside of here. So say transfer from. All right, and so we say msg.sender. All right, so that's who it's going from, that's who it's going to, and this is the amount. So you see that here, from to amount. So this is the special function we use anytime you want a smart contract to spend your tokens for you. Okay. Now before we do that, in the test you'll see a contract to spend your tokens for you. Okay. Now, before we do that, in the test, you'll see that we're gonna have to approve tokens first. That's how transfer from works. This approve function must be called before we can call transfer from. We'll see that in play in a minute, but we don't have to do that inside of the smart contract. Basically, we can just do the approval outside of it, and then we'll do this transfer from function anytime we call sell tokens, which we'll see in a minute. Basically, you just have to call approve and then sell tokens, and this will work. Okay. So we'll see that in play right now. Let's go ahead and test this out. We'll say shuffle compile. Make sure there's no syntax errors before we update the tests. All right. Okay, so we got a problem here. We need to make this function public. All right. So we'll say public. That's going to allow it to be accessed outside of the the smart contract. Okay, perfect. So now let's go to the tests. ETHSwap test. We'll create a test down here. Let's go ahead and just copy this one. Say sell tokens. All right, and we'll clear out all this.
Vale, antes de pasar al test, vamos a hacer un repasito rápido de lo que hemos hecho. Vale, hemos hecho esta función sell tokens para vender tokens, ¿vale? La semana pasada, bueno, en el último directo, fue el miércoles creo, hicimos esta de comprar tokens. Entonces aquí, cuando alguien llame a esta función para vender sus tokens y cambiarlos por Ether, nos dirá, pues yo qué sé, te doy 10 SensioCoins, cámbiamelo por Ether. Entonces aquí estamos calculando cuánto Ether sería eso, simplemente dividiendo la cantidad de SensioCoins por el ratio al que vendemos estos SensioCoins, ¿vale? Esto ya lo definimos el otro día, en este caso eran 100. Y en vez de utilizar esta función del token.transfer, ¿vale? El tutorial ha explicado que hay que usar el transfer from, porque si no, no funciona. Esta función la hicimos aquí. ¿Vale? Esta transfer no podemos usarla. Esta transfer from, que es un poco ya unas dudas, ¿no? Que ya vimos en el último día, que no sabía exactamente para qué servirían estas funciones, porque parece como que primero hay que darle permiso a alguien para gastarse esos tokens en nuestro nombre. ¿Vale? Entonces ahora lo vemos, ¿no? En el exchange en el que haremos para comprar y vender, pues para vender estos tokens tendremos que autorizar a este exchange para transferir tokens. ¿Vale? El address this es la dirección de este contrato. Esta es la dirección de la persona que llama la función. Y esta la cantidad. Y aquí me está dando este error. ¿Esto lo ha cambiado al final? Bueno, voy a dejar. A ver qué pasa. Ahí esto para compilarlo. Tras el compile, como ya vimos el otro día. Si no da errores, en principio estará todo bien. Aunque esto me da a mí que dirá algo raro, ¿no? A ver, tengo que entrar a la carpeta. Vale, este código lo tenéis en mi GitHub, si lo queréis usar. Buen día, Pau. ¿Quieres comprar SensioCoins? Están baratas. ¿Por qué no va el compile? Había que hacerle algo raro. El reset. No.
Have to use this transfer from function. Errors before we update the tests. All right. Okay, so we got a problem here.
Bueno, de momento no.
We need to make those dev sell tokens.
Vale,
Just
vamos
copy
a
this
ver los
one.
test, pues.
So sell tokens. All right, and we'll clear out all this. And we'll clear all this. We're just gonna get the skeleton in place here. All right, so for the description, we'll say it allows user to instantly sell tokens instead of purchase to ETH swap for a fixed price. Okay, so we're gonna reverse that. Boom. So it allows user to instantly sell tokens to ETH swap for a fixed price. So inside of here, what we want to do is call that function we just created. So we'll say result equals await ETH swap sell tokens. All right, and let's just sell all 100 tokens here that we purchased back to the exchange. Say tokens 100, and we'll say from investor. Right. So I'll show you. This is going to blow up. Sorry, truffle test. It's not going to work, and I'll illustrate why. Let's hope it actually doesn't work. Yeah, okay, boom. So it incurred, it reverted. All right, so why? Well, it's just like what I was saying a minute ago. In order to call transfer from, we have to approve the tokens before the smart contract can spend them for us. Okay, this function that I'm talking about here. This is what allows smart contract to spend our tokens, so we have to call this on the token itself before we can call buy tokens, sell tokens on ETHSwap. So I'll show you. We'll say await invest or token, so not ETHSwap, but token, approve ETHSwap address. All right, so this is saying we want ETHSwap to be able to spend the tokens for us, and then we specify an amount. So we'll just say all 100 tokens, and then we'll just do the rest of these same arguments. So I'll make notes inside of here that the investor must approve the purchase.
Ah, vale, creo que ya sé por qué me daba error. Se me ha olvidado activar el Ganache, el programa este que nos descargamos la semana pasada para crear una blockchain en nuestro ordenador. Quick Start. Está arrancando. Vale, ¿lo veis? El programilla este. Vale, esto es lo que nos levantaba una blockchain de prueba en nuestro ordenador. A ver si ahora va. Ya me he olvidado la mitad de cosas que hicimos el otro día, la verdad. Compilando. Test. Vale, el sell token, el que acabo de poner, ahora falla. No sé si lo comentamos para tener todo lo que teníamos el otro día. Debería funcionar, ¿vale? Veo que los ethers están bajando de las cuentas. Entonces, algo está haciendo. Vale, sí. Vale, entonces ahora tenemos que hacer el test para asegurarnos de que estamos vendiendo tokens, ¿vale? Y hemos implementado ya la función esta sell tokens, al menos, aunque esto está fallando. Bueno, está dando como este warning. Supongo que ahora el tío del tutorial explicará qué hay que hacer. Pero el test fallaba. Así que vamos a seguir con el tutorial.
And then, this is the action where they actually sell the tokens. All right, so let's just run it and see if it works. All right. So now it didn't revert. So that shows you that we have to approve the tokens before we sell them. And this is going to be a critical step whenever we develop the client-side application as well. Okay. So now what we want to do is check that the investor balance went up, or sorry, went down. So we can just copy this. That shows you that we have to approve the, so we'll just add sell tokens on eSwap. So I'll show you. We'll say await token. So not eSwap, but token. Approve ETH swap address. All right, so this is saying we want eSwap to be able to spend the tokens for us, and then we specify an amount. So we'll just say all 100 tokens, and then we'll just do the rest of these same arguments. So I'll make notes inside of here that the investor must approve the purchase, and then this is the action where they actually sell the tokens. All right, so let's.
Vale, hay que aprobar. Await token approve. Await token approve ETH swap address. Tokens 100 from investor. El smart contract que gestiona los tokens está aprobando a nuestro exchange a que venda, a que le dé 100 tokens a este investor, y una vez lo aprueba, luego ya los puede vender, en teoría. Funciona.
Let's just run it and see if it works. All right. So now it didn't revert. So that shows you that we have to approve the tokens before we sell them. And this is going to be a critical step whenever we develop the client-side application as well. Okay. So now what we want to do is check that the investor balance went down. So we can just copy this example. So do this, and instead of 100, we'll just say 0 because they sold them. Run the test, see if it passes. And basically, we're just going to check the opposite in this test of what we looked at for the last test. So yeah, that also worked. All right. So now we can make sure that the eSwap.
Vale, ahora tenemos que asegurarnos de que una vez hemos vendido esos tokens, pues no los tengamos, no hayamos vuelto a cero. Aunque no sé si eso funcionará. Si estos test corren uno detrás de otro de forma secuencial, quizás sí, ¿no? Vamos a probar. Los 100 tokens desaparecen del investor. Vale, el balance. Await token. ¿Cuál es el balance del investor? Y tenemos que asegurarnos de que sea 0. Vale, funciona.
Swap balance is correct after the purchase. All right, so eSwap balance equals await token balance of eSwap. So now it should be back up to a million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the eSwap balance should be 0. Or sorry, the Ether balance should be 0. All right, so it goes back to the way it was when we started this tutorial series.
Vale. Entonces, sí, ahora tenemos que comprobar. El exchange ha recibido los 100 tokens, por lo tanto ahora los vuelve a tener todos. Que era 1.000.000. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Should be 0.
¿Vale? Y todo el Ether que había recibido al vender las SensioCoins en el test de antes, ¿vale? Antes el investor nos ha comprado tokens por valor de 1 Ether, que son 100 tokens, ¿vale? Es lo que estábamos comprobando. Pues ahora tenemos que comprobar que el exchange ha recibido los 100 tokens y que se ha quedado sin Ether, porque se lo ha devuelto al investor. Esto donde lo mirábamos. Aquí. El exchange ha recibido los 100 tokens, por lo tanto tiene 1.000.000. Y el exchange ha dado un Ether al investor. Por lo tanto, el balance de Ether de nuestro exchange ahora tiene que ser 0. No estabais viendo el código. Vale, aquí hay un error. Y es que le hemos dicho que tiene que ser 0, en verdad tiene 1.000.000 de tokens. Vale, porque aquí esto tiene que ser el balance de tokens. Vale, ahora funciona. Vale, el exchange tiene todos los SensioCoins, que eso lo sacamos así. Y así es como sacamos la cantidad de Ether que tiene, que ahora es 0.
Or sorry, the Ether balance should be 0. All right, so it goes back the way it was when we started the tutorial series. Or sorry, in the first test example. Awesome, perfect. So that's doing pretty well. Now let's go ahead and add an event to the sell tokens function, just like we did in this first example. So we'll copy this. And instead of tokens purchased, or token purchased, say token sold. I'll tell you what, while we're here, I'm going to update this name. Let's do tokens plural. All right, I'm going to update that to tokens sold. This is probably going to cause some problems for people, so sorry. But I just want to make sure this looks good before we continue. So same thing, it's going to have the same arguments, account, token, amount, and rate. And then we'll just emit that at the bottom. So let's say, emit an event like this. Emit an event. Emit tokens sold. And we'll pass in MSG.sender, address of the token, right? And the amount, and then the rate. And then similarly, we'll go into the test and copy this same event check, right? We'll dig into the logs. Paste this here. Let's even say, add some comments here. Say check logs to ensure that the event was emitted with the correct data. Add this comment here as well. And we'll update these values. So, the account should be the investor, should be the token address, it should be 100 tokens, and the Ether amount the rate should be 100. All right, so let's run the test, see if it passes. All right, it worked. Okay, so lastly, what I want to do is, add some requirements to this function, okay? So the first thing we want to do is make sure that ETHSwap has enough Ether to redeem the tokens. So just like we did here, we want to check that ETHSwap has enough Ether whenever the sale happens. We'll do that before we perform the sale. Okay, so basically what we do is we can check the balance like this, address, this, that balance. All right, and we want to make sure it's greater than or equal to the Ether amount, okay? And we want to require that. All right, let's just run the test, see if it passes. Okay, boom. All right, so this is a really strange error. And yeah, this is a kind of a weird thing. All right, so this is a real strange quirk. You need to go to your truffle-config file.
Vale, obviamente tenemos que, antes de hacer la venta, asegurarnos que tenemos suficiente Ether, ¿vale? Entonces hacemos ese require, que no sé por qué no lo ha metido dentro de un require. Sí, quizás por eso, por lo que le da el error. Require que requerimos que this balance mayor o igual a ETH amount.
And we want to require that. All right, let's just run the test, see if it passes. Okay, boom. All right, so this is a really strange error. And yeah, this is a kind of a weird thing. All right, so this is a real strange quirk. You need to go to your truffle-config.
Require address this. Required address this. Y el punto y coma.
Amount, okay? And we want to require that. All right, let's just run the test, see if it passes. Okay, boom. All right, so this is a really strange error. And yeah, this is a kind of a weird thing. All right, so this is a real strange quirk. You need to go to your truffle-config file right below here and say EVM version Petersburg. All right, so I don't want to get too in depth on why we need to do this, but just try it and hopefully it'll make your test pass. Try a config file here in order to that the user can't sell more tokens than they have. Okay, so I'm going to write the test first actually, and then we're going to write the code. So basically, we'll test for failure here. So failure. I'm going to show you how to test for failure. Say investor can't sell more tokens than they have. Okay, so we'll say await ETH swap sell tokens. We'll try to sell like 500. That's more than the investor currently has. And we'll say from investor. We say should be rejected. All right, perfect. So let's run the test. It should fail, that's what we expect. And then we're gonna write the code to make it pass. All right, perfect. And actually it looks like it passed the first time. And that's because, probably because the token is throwing an exception, not necessarily the ETH swap smart contract, okay? But what we can do is write an explicit requirement in the contract as well that would look like this, okay? Say user can't sell more tokens than they have. And like I said, I think the ERC20 token's already taking care of this for us, but we're gonna do it for tutorial purposes just to show you explicitly how you do it inside the smart contract. Say require token balance of MSG at sender is greater than or equal to amount. All right. And I think it's because it's trying to I think whenever it calls the transfer from function, it's trying to move tokens that you don't have. So it's gonna throw an error anyway, but we're just gonna add this here so you can see how you check for it yourself. And there we go, still passes. Awesome. So that's it, guys. That is the completed.
A ver, espera. Require token balance of del sender sea mayor o igual al amount. Vale, esto dará un error. Porque le hemos puesto el require este, ¿no? Si se lo quito, ¿qué pasa? sigue dando un error. Va, siempre está bien, ¿no? Comprobar que lo tenga.
For an error anyway, but we're just going to add this here so you can see how you check for yourself. And there we go. Still passes. Awesome. So that's it, guys. That is the completed smart contract code. Congratulations. Awesome. Here.
Should be rejected. Awaited swap sell tokens. Vale, se me había pues olvidado poner aquí el should be rejected. Vale, para que este test pase, esto debería fallar. Y aquí algo está mal. Cannot read property B of undefined.
Long way. This
Should be rejected. Should be rejected. Quizá hay que ponerlo así. Vale, hay una excepción.
series so far, guys, that is the complete you don't have. So it's going to then or equal versus just we say should be rejected. All right, perfect. So let's run the test. It should fail. That's what we expect. And then we're going to write the code to make it pass. All right, perfect. And actually, it looks like it passed the first time. And that's because probably because the token is throwing an exception, not necessarily the ETH smart contract. Okay, but what we can do is write an explicit requirement in the contract as well that would look like this. Okay, say user can't sell more tokens than they have. This is just a token. It's trying to move tokens that. And there we go. Still passes. Awesome. So that's it, guys. That is the completed smart contract code. Congratulations.
Testing. Ah, no sale nada del should be rejected. Pues no sé, vamos a tener que fijarnos de que eso funciona. O sea, fallar está fallando, porque nos lo dice aquí, pero no sé cómo testear que eso falla. Porque le ha puesto esto, pero a nosotros no nos funciona. Await assert rejects. A ver esto, si funciona. Set rejects no es una función. Vale, pues ahora sí, parece que funciona. Cert equal is deprecated. Use strict equal. Vale, ahora pasan todos los tests y nos hemos asegurado de que no podemos vender más tokens de los que tenemos. Si ahora yo esto lo pongo aquí, esto debería fallar, porque esta función sí que la tiene que poder hacer. Vale, falla porque esto espera que falle, pero no falla. Vale. Ok, vamos a seguir.
You've come a really long way in this series so far. So there's one final step before we move on to the next section. This is really important. Don't miss this. We want to put the smart contracts, the completed smart contracts, on the blockchain. So we'll say truffle, migrate, -- reset. And that's going to put them on the blockchain and also put the final compiled versions inside of our truffle project like this. You can go to source, or actually, sorry, build. Where is it? So source contracts. Sorry, source ABI is my fault. We can look at ETH swap. All right, so here's the completed smart contract, and it even gives you, let's see, network. It shows you the address of it on the network, all that kind of stuff. Awesome. All right, everybody, so congratulations, that's it. And now what we're going to do is start building out the client side.
Vale, pues parece que ya tenemos toda la parte esta de los contratos hecha. Vamos a hacer un resumen muy rápido antes de ponernos con el frontend, ¿vale? De la aplicación donde vais a poder entrar a comprar SensioCoins. Espero que lo hagáis todos. Entonces nuestro proyecto es este de aquí, al que le llamé Hello ETH, Hello Ethereum, pero bueno, quizá le cambiamos luego el nombre. Vale, y tenemos diferentes archivos, carpetas. Vale, repasito rápido de lo que hemos hecho hasta ahora. El Truffle config, ¿vale? Es la configuración de Truffle, esta librería que estamos utilizando para desarrollar los contratos, ponerlos en la blockchain, aunque de momento solo estamos haciéndolo en un blockchain de prueba, ¿vale? De desarrollo que está en mi ordenador, pero bueno, vosotros os podéis poner uno vuestro, obviamente, también. ¿Vale? La carpeta test, pues tenemos los tests. En la carpeta de las migraciones son, pues, los programas que ejecuta el Truffle este para desplegar los contratos inteligentes en la blockchain. De momento la de prueba, ¿vale? Este es el que nos traía por defecto, que no lo hemos tocado, y este es el que hicimos, el deploy contracts, que lo que hace es primero desplegar el smart contract del token, que ahora os enseñaré, y luego despliega el exchange, ¿vale? Que nos permite comprar y vender estos tokens. ¿Vale? Y por último, el contrato este del token, que contiene todos los tokens, transfiere todos estos tokens a este exchange, de forma que los pueda comprar y vender. ¿Vale? Y aquí es donde están estos contratos, ¿vale? El migrations.sol, este es el que viene por defecto al inicializar el proyecto de Truffle, ¿vale? Esto no lo tenemos que tocar. Y luego hicimos estos dos, el token y el ETH swap, ¿vale? El token contiene, pues, los tokens, los SensioCoins, ¿vale? Esto le quiero cambiar el nombre, Va a poner SensioCoin todo seguido. Y el símbolo es SENC. ¿Vale? Y hemos dicho que vamos a crear 1.000.000 de tokens, ¿vale? Para crear 1.000.000 de tokens tenéis que escribir 1.000.000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seguido de 18 ceros en este caso, ¿vale? Porque le estamos diciendo que va a tener 18 decimales, ¿vale? Vosotros con euros pues podéis tener hasta 1 céntimo, pues aquí podéis tener hasta 18 decimales. ¿Vale? Estas son todas las funciones y eventos que necesitábamos para poder comprar y vender tokens. Esto ya lo hicimos el otro día, podéis ver el vídeo y donde lo hablamos un poquito más en detalle. ¿Vale? Y este es el otro contrato inteligente, el que se encarga de comprar y vender estos tokens. ¿Vale? Importamos el otro contrato, pues tiene un nombre, le hemos llamado SensioExchange. Vale, así, SensioExchange. Vale, aquí le decimos que un token o 100 tokens nuestros valen un Ether. ¿Vale? Que sería como la moneda de Ethereum, que es la blockchain que vamos a utilizar para desplegar estos contratos. ¿Vale? Cuando creamos el contrato, pues le decimos el token. Y tenemos las dos funciones de comprar y de vender, que son las que ahora estábamos haciendo esos test. Vale. Vuelvo a desplegar todo. Esto le voy a cambiar ya el nombre y le voy a poner SensioCoin. En la carpeta build están estos contratos compilados. Y ya estaría todo. Vamos a ejecutar los test otra vez para asegurarnos de que no hay nada raro. Aquí está fallando los tests porque al cambiarle ahora los nombres. Vale, esto le he llamado SensioExchange en vez de no sé qué. Y al token también le he cambiado el nombre a SensioCoin. Vale, ahora los tests deberían pasar todos. Vale, pues vamos a ponernos ahora con el frontend.
Website or user interface, which you see here. So really quickly, if you like this tutorial series, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click the like button down below.
Vale, el objetivo es hacer algo así, una página web tontita con un formulario donde pues, se puedan comprar y vender las SensioCoins, ¿vale? Entonces tendréis que poner pues una cantidad de Ethers y las cambiaréis por esta moneda, o al revés, si tenéis esta moneda pues las podéis cambiar por Ethers.
Below. That really helps these videos get found with the YouTube algorithm. And also, if you want to take that next step towards mastering blockchain, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's continue on with this, right? This is the finished product that we're working toward. And right now, we have just a really bare bones website. This is the starter kit that we, began the project with. And we haven't really modified the code for this at all. And so that's what we're gonna do in this tutorial. At least in this part of the video. So we're going to connect this to the blockchain, all right? We're gonna load our account and put it here and wire up this Identicon. And we're gonna get started with all of that right now. So a few quick housekeeping tips. If you're just picking up at this point in the tutorial, make sure you have your node packages installed. You can just do that with, make sure that you have, okay. All right, go to add. We'll start here. You can see the code for this page right here. Go here. Oh, we'll refresh page, and there we go, boom. And we'll go ahead and take the logo out of React.js. And what it does, JavaScript, and component looks like, you can see this. Do that. Let's connect our browser. Can't use the app with the blockchain. It's no good. All right. So we're going to do each of those things right now. First, let's actually do the browser to the blockchain. That's the easier part, and it has to be done first before we can really successfully make use of this part. So we're going to do this backwards. All right. So in order to connect your browser to blockchain, we're going to use MetaMask. All right. You install this at the very, very beginning of the tutorial.
Lo que voy a hacer ahora es inicializar el proyecto, ¿vale? Vamos, el tutorial este lo hacen con React. Nosotros ya sabéis que trabajamos con Next.js, que es un framework de React, o sea, algo que estaría por encima de React. Así que vamos a inicializar el proyecto este. Yarn. Create Next App. Vale. Voy a probar a hacerlo dentro de la carpeta SensioCoin, a ver si funciona. No sé si me meterá aquí o me creará una carpeta dentro de esta carpeta. Eso no lo quiero. Pues no ha funcionado. Y esto tampoco. Vale, pues vamos a tirar una carpeta para atrás. Vamos a meterlo aquí. Le voy a llamar caca porque luego voy a meter todos los archivos que me generen en esta carpeta a la otra. Que tampoco van a ser muchos. Vale, ha generado todos estos. Aquí no hay nada en principio que me haga conflicto con los de aquí. Seguimos teniendo el build contracts, migrations, node modules, plus pages, public, styles, test. Aquí de momento solo están los tests de los contratos. Git ignore. La carpeta esta del build ya estaría. Package.json, SensioCoin, versión 0.1. README, fuera todo. SensioCoin, la mejor criptomoneda del mundo. Tenemos el truffle config. Vale. Los tests seguirán funcionando. Espero que sí. Vale, lo que teníamos sigue funcionando. Vale, y ahora vamos a levantar la aplicación. Deberíais verla aquí, ¿vale? Está funcionando. Entonces lo que voy a hacer es cargarme un poco todas estas cosas que vienen, que es lo que siempre hago. Carpeta public, esto lo dejo. En la carpeta pages, la API de momento me la cargo. Esto lo dejamos, pero le quito los estilos. Y en la carpeta index me voy a cargar todo. Y esto que devuelva un div que diga hola. Esto fuera. Vale. Ahora tenemos una aplicación sin nada. ¿Vale? Lo único que dice es hola. ¿Vale? Así empezaremos desde cero.
Okay, so make sure you've got MetaMask set up properly. Go back and revisit that section if you haven't already. All right, so basically, if you open this little Fox icon, you'll probably see account 1 right here if this is your first time using MetaMask. You probably connected to the main net right here. So the first thing you want to do, well, actually, sorry, let me explain MetaMask. Essentially, your web browser by default doesn't talk to the blockchain. You need a special browser extension in order to do that. And that's what MetaMask does. So this is an Ethereum wallet. All right, wallets are how you connect to the blockchain. And what you want to do first is connect to the correct blockchain. Okay, so if you click this button up here, yours probably says main Ethereum network. You want to do custom RPC, all right? And we can call this Ganache. Is connect to the correct blockchain. Okay, so if you click this button up here, yours probably says main.
Vale, acordaros, ya lo hablamos el otro día, que vamos a utilizar MetaMask, ¿vale? Pues podéis poner esta extensión en Google Chrome. No se ve en el directo. Si yo clico las extensiones MetaMask, no se ve. A mí aquí me está saliendo lo que se ve en su vídeo. Qué raro. Será un problema de la captura del OBS.
Custom RPC, all right? And we can call this Ganache and say http://localhost port 7545. All right, so I have already done this, so it won't let me save it. But anyways, just click save. So then go and select the instance you just created. I'll go ahead and select Ganache here. 45.
He puesto ya el nombre. HTTP localhost 7545.
All right, so I have already done this, so it won't let me save it. But anyways, just click.
ID de cadena. Opcional. A mí no me dice que sea opcional. Le voy a poner este número que me dice el ganache. El endpoint devolvió un ID de cadena diferente. Pues le pongo ese número. Vale, ya me ha dejado añadirlo.
Save. So then go and.
Vale, si ahora abro el MetaMask, vosotros no lo veis. Pero está, ahora he conectado la extensión esta a la blockchain que tengo desplegada en mi ordenador de prueba. ¿Vale? Haciendo lo que veis en el vídeo.
Instance you just created. I'll go ahead and select Ganache here. All right, so once you've done that, you'll have correctly connected to your development blockchain. That's this right here, okay? So the next thing we want to do is import this account right here, the very first account that's important, into MetaMask. So you'll click this little key icon right here. So show your private key, all right? You copy it, click OK. So make sure you don't actually use this to store any real money, because everyone who's watched this video will have seen it. And then go over here, go to MetaMask, click, let's see here, go to accounts, import account, and then make sure this says private key right here on select type, and then paste in your private key and click import. So it's going to tell me I've already done it because I have, but you should basically see success, and you should see your account connected right here. All right, so once that's successful, you should see an Ether balance right here, and your Ganache network selected. Okay, so that's step one, right? Connecting your browser to a block.
Vale, a mí me ha funcionado. Lo he conectado y si ahora abro mi extensión, que no veis, vale, me dice que me he conectado con esa cuenta y que tengo 98,547 Ethers, ¿vale? Que son los que me quedan en el ganache porque te da 100 por defecto, como ya vimos el otro día, pero me ha ido restando pues de las diferentes pruebas y los tests que hemos ido haciendo, ¿vale? Pero bueno, así tenemos una cuenta aquí de prueba con un montón de Ethers para probar la interacción del navegador y la aplicación que vamos a hacer ahora con los contratos inteligentes que hemos desarrollado.
Chain. So MetaMask does that. And then the second thing is connecting your app to the blockchain. So we're going to use a special library for that, all right, called Web3.js. And you've already seen Web3 a little bit in this tutorial whenever we built out the tests, right? If you go back to, let's see here, source test, or sorry, test, test eSwap test, you'll see, let's see here, Web3 utils, two-way. You'll also see like Web3, let's just search for it, Web3, ETH get balance, stuff like that. So we've already used Web3 a little bit. But we're going to use it on the client side in order to connect to the blockchain. That's what it does. And basically how Web3 works is it works with the concept of an Ethereum provider. So basically, MetaMask connects to an Ethereum node to talk to the blockchain. That's what it does with Ganache. And then MetaMask exposes that as a provider to the Web3.js library. So basically, it's just, that's the point of connection that you can start using in your application. So let's go ahead and get started doing that. So what I'm going to do is import Web3 into this file. Okay, so this is how we do it inside of React. We use this import here. And...
Vale, lo que he hecho yo ahora es instalar esa librería que dice, ¿vale? Con el Yarnat Web 3. Vale, ahora nuestra aplicación, que antes solo tenía como dependencias Next y React, pues ahora también tiene esta librería Web 3, que es la librería que nos va a permitir conectar el MetaMask, ¿vale? Esta wallet de Ethereum en el navegador con nuestra aplicación.
We do like this. Import capital Web3 from lowercase Web3 with single quotation marks around it. And I'm going to go ahead and kill these semicolons just for consistency. We don't need them.
A ver si puedo importar eso. Import Web3 from Web3. A ver si no peta. Vale, abro la consola. Ups. Vale, cambio la aplicación. Vale, me está cambiando. Vale, parece que funciona. No la hemos usado todavía para nada, la librería, pero al menos la instalación y importarla. No sé si quizás si no la usas, no la importa. Es posible. Vamos a ver.
All right. And so basically we can load up Web3 inside of our component like this. We'll create a new function. So here's, this render function. We'll create a new function here called load Web3. So load Web3. All right. And inside of here is where we're going to pull the Ethereum provider from MetaMask and expose it to our application. All right. So essentially, I don't want to reinvent the wheel here. I'm basically just going to use MetaMask's own instructions on how to do this. So MetaMask just tells us, straight up how to do this. We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Here is their suggested code on how you connect to MetaMask with your Web3 provider, okay? Or sorry, with Web3 library. So I'm just going to take this and modify it and put it straight into the application. So don't necessarily worry if you don't understand everything that's going on here. This is just kind of like what they tell us to do, okay? So essentially what it does is it looks for two different things. One is window.ethereum and window.web3. And this is basically for modern web browsers, they'll have this, and legacy web browsers will have this. And if you don't have MetaMask installed, we'll show the user an alert, non-Ethereum browser connected, please use MetaMask. All right. So the next thing we want to do is make this asynchronous, or make this, support the await keyword, right? So we have to do async. So now we want to call this. So in order to connect to this, I'm going to create a new method here called component will mount. All right. And then inside of here, I'm going to say await this.load web3. Oh, sorry. I can't code today, guys. And then for using the await keyword here, we also have to make this asynchronous, async. And then I'm going to say console.log, let's say window.web3. All right, so we'll do that. Go back to our project here, and then open this, go to console, and there we go. There's our Web3 instance. Awesome.
Vale, vamos a hacer eso porque nosotros lo vamos a tener que hacer un poquito diferente. Lo primero que voy a hacer es buscar esa función que dice él. A ver si la encuentro. Vale, me copio esto, lo traigo al código, ponemos aquí. Vale, esto es una función. Comprobará si en el window tenemos este objeto Ethereum, que imagino que es lo que nos pondrá el MetaMask, la extensión esta. Y si es así, creamos el Web3 y lo habilitamos. Si no, devuelve false. Y esta función queremos ejecutarla cuando este componente se renderice o se cargue en el navegador. Y para eso podemos usar el useEffect, poniéndole esto de aquí. Vale, entonces todo lo que pongamos ahora aquí dentro se ejecutará cuando este componente se cargue. Simplemente llamaremos a esa función. Y que había puesto también el console log de Windows Web 3. Algo así, ¿no? Load Web 3. Sí. Vale, entonces si ahora venimos a la aplicación. useEffect. ¿Por qué no le importas? Vale. ¿Qué está pasando? Al refrescar la aplicación, se me está abriendo el MetaMask. ¿No lo veis? ¿Veis que el ratón se está moviendo? Estoy moviendo una ventanita, un pop-up que me ha salido y no sé por qué no lo veis vosotros. Tendría que capturar la pantalla entera, no solo el Chrome. Pero bueno, me ha saltado una notificación del MetaMask que me dice: hey, esta aplicación está intentando conectarse con MetaMask. ¿Con qué cuenta te quieres conectar? Tengo varias, una la que me daba por defecto y otra que es la que acabo de conectar del Ganache. Así que conecto esa, ¿vale? conectándose. Y en teoría se me ha conectado. Sí, ¿vale? Se me ha conectado esa cuenta ahora con mi aplicación.
Let's see, window.web3. All right, so we'll do that. Go back to our project here, and then open this.
Y el console log ha funcionado, sí. ¿Veis aquí? El objeto web3 ahora existe en mi navegador. Perfecto. Ahora ya no me sale el pop-up cada vez que refresco porque ya me he conectado. Imagino que si ahora yo vengo al MetaMask y me desconecto, debería dejar de funcionar. Bueno, no lo voy a hacer. Más que nada porque no me sale un botón de desconectar así fácil.
Go to console, and there we go. There's our Web3 instance. Awesome. So Web3 is what we're going to use inside our application to connect to the blockchain. And if you go back to our tests, you'll see we can do stuff like get the user's current balance, right? Web3 ETH get balance. We can do all kinds of stuff. Okay? So make a quick mention, this component will mount. This is a special lifecycle method in React. We want to wait for this to. All right, so we'll call this wait. It's for window.web3 to a variable for shorthand, so we have to keep retyping. Window, right? So we Web3 a lot in this function throughout the rest of this tutorial. But the first thing I want to do is actually fetch the account that we're connected with inside MetaMask, right? So we want to take this account and pull it out so we can use it in our application. So if you look at our finished product, right, it shows our account here. It reads the balance, the Ether balance, and it also reads the token balance. So we need this account to put all this information on the page. It's sort of the first step. So if you look at the Web3 documentation here, this is how we fetch the accounts from MetaMask, right? It's just Web3 ETH get accounts, right? So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And we do that just like this. We'll say const accounts equals await Web3 ETH get accounts. All right. And then we'll say console.log accounts. All right. So let's go to our app. Okay. So accounts is not defined. Looks like I just made a typo here. All right, there we go. So here's the account that we're connected with in MetaMask. All right. Looks like
Vale, vamos a hacer esto. ¿Cómo sacar la cuenta de la persona del MetaMask, de la persona que está utilizando esta aplicación? He hecho una función, porque ha dicho que la va a utilizar muchas veces, que se llama, pongo el código, perdonad, load blockchain data. Voy a llamarlo load data y ya está. Window Web 3. Sacamos las cuentas. Await Web 3 ETH get accounts. Esto sacará las cuentas que estén conectadas con el MetaMask, entiendo. Y por último he hecho un console log para ver estas cuentas. Y para que esto funcione, esto tiene que ser asíncrono. Y vamos a llamar a esta función después de llamar a esta otra. Y si venimos a la aplicación, ¿por qué se ha hecho pequeño de repente? Voy a agrandarlo de aquí, porque se me ha hecho muy pequeño. Vale. No lo veis porque lo tapa mi cabeza, así que lo voy a poner al otro lado. Vale. Ahora veis que está haciendo el console log de mi cuenta. Vale, este es el mismo número que sale en el ganache. Esta cuenta de aquí. Vale, esta es la cuenta que he conectado con el MetaMask, ¿vale? Para conectarlo, clicáis aquí en el Show Keys y copiáis la clave privada. Yo no os lo enseño para que no me lo hackeéis. Vale, esta es la cuenta que vamos a utilizar para comprar y vender tokens, SensioCoins. Se viene.
Just made a typo here. All right, there we go. So here's the account that we're connected with in MetaMask. All right, so to AEC, right, to AEC. So that looks correct. And you'll see this is inside of an array. So really this is like, could be multiple accounts, but there's only one inside of here. And the first one is the account that we want to connect to. So we can just fetch that out of the array. You know, you can just say like, here's an array with, you know, different array, foo, bar, et cetera, et cetera. So next we want to do is actually store this in the React state. All right. So if you go back to our React documentation here, I talked about this briefly earlier. So, all right. So this is basically what we need to do. So what this does is it calls. So then what we can do is log this back out. We can fetch it back out from state. Boom, there you go. It's a account.
Vale, vamos a guardar esto como un estado. No sé si luego necesitaremos más cosas. Si lo hacemos lo cambiaremos, pero bueno, de momento vamos a tener solo un estado. Const account, set account, igual a use state. Y por defecto no tenemos nada. Cuando llamemos a este load data, vamos a setear nuestra cuenta a la primera que encontremos en esta lista de cuentas. Vale, ahora hacemos un console log del estado y debería darnos lo mismo. En este caso da null. Quizás que le estoy llamando demasiado pronto a este console log. Vale, sí. ¿No? Ahora sí, que lo he hecho. Aquí lo está sacando. Aquí dice que es null. Pero si guardo y vuelvo. Qué raro. Bueno, en principio lo está guardando. Si no lo está haciendo bien, luego se quejará. De hecho, podemos enseñarlo aquí. Sí, la está sacando bien. Esta es la cuenta. Simplemente la estoy pintando y ya está.
It should be the same thing. Example, I can call console log, you know, this state account down here in the render function, right? Which I couldn't do earlier. Perfect. So we've got the account from MetaMask, and eventually we want to show this ether balance here, and we can do that next inside of our account, or sorry, inside of our application. So we've seen that before actually. So if you go back to the tests, ETH swap test, so you get balance, ETH get balance. All right, look here. We checked the ETH swap balance before. We did Web3 ETH get balance. So let's just copy this from the test since you've seen it before and do it inside of their front-end application. All right, so instead of ETH swap balance, we'll just call this const balance, or we'll say ETH balance. And this is going to be the balance of this account, right? Not ETH swap. It's going to be the user who's connected to the application. We'll say this.state count, and we'll store it to the state, just like we did with the other one. Say this set state, and we'll say ETH balance equals ETH balance. Now I'm going to show you a pretty cool thing in JavaScript. You know, in this version of JavaScript in ES6, if you have a key and a value of a variable type, or sorry, let me explain that better. If you have a key that has a variable value and they have the exact same name, you can just do this. You don't even need the key or the colon. You can just do that. Okay, so that's the same as doing this because they have the same name. And you couldn't do that here because it's not the same. Okay, so now let's set the default state, and let's say the default balance, ETH balance, is 0. And then let's do console log this.state.ETH balance. All right, there you go. Boom. So you see that looks right. So 97 is 0.
Vale, pues sí, hay que cambiarlo un poquito. En vez de tener un use state para cada una de estas cosas, ¿vale? Mejor hacemos un estado global, que por defecto sea un objeto vacío. Y aquí, después del load data, ¿vale? En el set state nos guardamos el account y el balance. Vale, y este balance lo hemos sacado con esta función de aquí. Vale, ahora podemos sacar este account y este balance de nuestro estado y pintarlo. Vamos a poner aquí un div. Aquí a cerrarlo y a esto que sea un paragraph normal y corriente. Y aquí me está dando unos cuantos errores. Así que vamos a intentar ver qué está pasando. Vamos a quitar la parte del balance. Vale, la cuenta ahora no me la está cogiendo. Vale, ahora sí. Y ahora sí. Vale. He definido esta variable account. Antes era accounts y sacábamos el primer elemento. Vale, ahora directamente lo saco desde aquí. Y el problema es que tenía que meter esto entre paréntesis para que se espere a sacar las cuentas y luego me dé la primera. Y luego ya sacamos el balance. Vale, aquí desestructuramos las dos propiedades estas del estado y las pintamos, ¿vale? Que es lo que estáis viendo. Esta es la cuenta conectada a la aplicación ahora mismo de Ethereum y estos son todos los ethers que tiene, ¿vale? Como veis hay un montón porque es una cuenta de prueba, de desarrollo. Cuando esta aplicación esté en marcha y vosotros entréis aquí a comprar las SensioCoins, pues aquí veréis la cantidad de ethers que tengáis en vuestra cuenta. Primero os tendréis que hacer una cuenta de ethers, eso ya veremos cómo se hace más adelante. Y cuando compréis ether con euros o con otras criptomonedas si ya tenéis, pues aquí os dirá todos los ethers que tenéis.
And then let's do console log this.state.ETH balance. All right, there you go. Boom. See a decimal place. I got penny for Ethereum, a really tiny penny. And it's got, 18 decimal places after 0. You don't use decimals, so that's why you see this big number. Okay. All right, so now what I want to do is show the account that we just loaded on the page. All right, we want to put it up here, just like this finished product. Okay. And we also want to add this cool icon. And we'll say navbar, capital N, navbar, the navbar.
Esto ya lo tenemos.
Sorry. And nothing changed, that's okay.
Esto de estilos y cosas
We didn't
así
actually render
ya
out the
lo haremos
navbar on
más
the
adelante
page. I just want to make
a
sure that it
nuestro
imported
rollo.
properly without any errors yet. Here.
No vamos a copiarnos su diseño.
Say, component,
Solo quiero
right?
saber cómo
like
sacar
this.
la información y cómo
Navbar,
llamar
its own
ahora a
component.
los contratos
And,
inteligentes.
We've imported, say, explain this. Whenever we use these curly braces, talk to those smart contracts. Talk to the smart contracts and purchase the tokens, all right?
Ahora vamos un segundito y ahora vengo. Seguimos.
We have created the smart contracts for the ETH swap exchange. We created a token smart contract, and we've connected our website to the blockchain. Now we want to do is actually load these smart contracts into our app so that we can use them. All right, we want to end up building this, and we need the token smart contract, and we need the ETH swap smart contract to facilitate this, buy and sell mechanism that you see here. The client side website that we're building right now is our front end, and we basically finished the back end already. And what we're doing right now is essentially just connecting the front end and the back end parts of our application. All right. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and open up the code and go back to where we were. We loaded the account, and we loaded the Ether balance of this account. All right, so we can take out this console logging statement. And we want to continue on with this, all right? We want to load up the smart contracts into this project. So the nice thing is we can just import the smart contracts directly from our Truffle project, right? That's one of the reasons that we have this special setting inside of our Truffle project to change where the smart contracts are. Basically, we can take this ETH swap file and import it into this app.js file to use the smart contract directly with Web3.js, okay? So basically, this is just an ABI right here that you see. This is a JSON array that describes the functions of the smart contract. It just tells you how all the code works, basically. We can use this ABI to create a JavaScript version of the smart contract so that we can call its functions, just like we did inside our tests, but inside the web application, all right, the front-end application. So I'll show you how to import that into the project like this. You just say ETH swap. Let's do it above the nav bar, actually. All right, ETH swap. So import capital ETH, capital swap, right? Just like the smart contract from ... means go up a directory, right? We're here, go up a directory. And then go to the ABIs folder and then take ETH swap out of it, .json.
Estos ABIs no los tenemos. Dentro del build está los contracts. Vale, lo que le ha llamado el ABIs es simplemente lo que nosotros se llama build contracts.
ETH swap, this is inside the directory, and then go to the ABIs folder and then take ETH swap out of it, .json, and assign it to this variable.
Vale. Import ETH swap from está dentro de la carpeta pages, build, contracts, ETH swap JSON.
And then likewise, we'll do the same thing for our token. So just above ETH swap, we'll import the token. Now, technically, this entire file isn't an ABI, so this isn't necessarily the best name for this, but you get the idea, right? The ABI is technically inside this big JSON object, but that's okay. Now that we have both of these imported, we can use them inside of low blockchain data. So right here, what we want to do is create a JavaScript version of the smart contract so that we can, fetch. We can interact with it. We can call its functions like balance of. We can do all kinds of stuff. So first, we'll start with the token, and the main thing we want to do is get the token balance so that we can show it on the page like this right here. All right. So we've got the ABI for the token here. But let's see how we create a JavaScript version of it. Well, we do it with the Web3 library. And if we go look at the Web3 documentation, they tell us how to create a new Web3 contract like this. All right, you just say new Web3 ETH contract, and then you need two pieces of information. You need the JSON interface, and you need the address. All right. So I'm literally just going to copy and paste this inside of here. All right, so new Web3 ETH contract, and you need the ABI, you need the address. So we'll just say const token equals this. And we need const ABI. We need to fill that in. And then we need to say const address. We need to fill that in. All right. ABI, address. So those are two pieces of information we need in order to create a JavaScript version of the smart contract. So why is that? Well, the ABI tells us, how the smart contract works, what the functions are. Basically just tells us what the code looks like. All right. And then the address is where that smart contract is on the blockchain. So you could have multiple smart contracts that have the same ABI, but you want to tell it the address of the specific smart contract that you want to use. Okay. So I'll show you how to get all that information. We'll start with the ABI. So if you look inside this ABI's file token.json, when we imported this right here, we imported this entire JSON object. So we can literally just get the ABI right here. So ABI will just equal token.ABI. And then the address will be inside of this file. So if you look inside of here, here's ABI. Let's look at the networks. All right, so there's an ABI key, there's also a network key. So this will tell you the different networks that the smart contract's deployed to on the blockchain. And we're specifically gonna look at this network. This is Ganache, 5777. Like if you go to Ganache, you can see here, 5777 right here. All right, it's the same ID. And you want to find the address. So you look inside this file, you find networks, this network, and then this address, right? So we can do it like this. We can basically just say token.networks. Literally just pass in 5777. All right, and then get the address. And then that would be the token. And we can say console log token. Go back to the web browser. And there we go. There it is. There's the Web3 contract. So now what I want to do is make this code a little more robust because this is really brittle. Like we don't want to just hard code this address here. Or we don't.
Vale, pues básicamente he hecho lo que ha dicho, ¿vale? He importado los JSON que están en la carpeta build contracts en nuestro caso. El ABI es la propiedad ABI de este JSON file. El address está aquí dentro. Y creamos un nuevo contrato con la librería del Web3, pasándole este ABI y este address, ¿vale? Lo he metido también en... Bueno, esto no sé si hará falta. De momento lo quito. Y vamos a hacer el console log del token. ¿Vale? Aquí lo veis. Que ha creado el contrato. Y aquí dentro pues están las funciones que podemos utilizar para comprar, bueno, en este caso para hacer las transacciones y todo eso.
We don't want to hard code the network. Like if we change networks, we want this to be dynamic. All right, so what I'm going to do is actually get the network ID that we're currently connected to in MetaMask. So we do that like this. We just say network ID, load network ID, right? So await web3 ETH net get ID. This will return 5777 because we're connected to Ganache to network ID. All right, and then go back to the project. Oh, sorry. Looks like we had a typo here. All right, boom, there we go. Still works. Awesome. So now what we want to do is refactor this a little more. So potentially this could be empty. So we don't necessarily want to call address. We might get undefined on this. So we'll do this. We'll say we'll refactor this to call it token data. And then we'll say, if token data, because it may not exist if we change networks. All right, we'll just do something here. If the token data exists, the address will just be token data dot address. All right. So yeah, pause for a second and just kind of let that sink in. Then further, we don't necessarily need to do address here anymore. We can just put token data address here because that's pretty easy to read. All right, then finally, we don't need to use this ABI variable because that's pretty self-explanatory too. And then we put that here. Okay, awesome. So finally, if the token's not deployed to the network, we say window.alert token contract not deployed to detected network. All right, so save that, go back here, and boom, there we go. See it logged to the console. So now let's see if our alert works. Let's go to mainnet. And boom, there we go. Token contract not deployed to detected network. If we click, go back to Ganache. All right, click refresh. Awesome, works. Perfect.
Vale, vamos a poner ese también. Ya he pasado el token ABI aquí directamente y la address ha dicho que puede ser que no esté. Entonces lo que hacemos es token data. If token data, que haga todo eso. Si no, window alert para que salga la alerta. Token, vamos a poner contrato. No desplegado. Y aquí token data address. Entonces esto sigue funcionando. Y si ahora en el MetaMask me cambio de red, vosotros no lo veis. Contrato no desplegado. Y si ahora vuelvo al Ganache, me sale la info. Perfecto.
Detected network. All right. So save that, go back here, and boom, there we go. See it logged to the console. All right, click store the token in the, we'll just say load token here. And now what we want to do is store the token in the state. So down here, we'll just say, let's do it like this. So just below account, say token equals this empty object, right? And then let's see here, token data, token. We'll say this set state. And then we'll say token equals token. And remember, we can do this shorthand like this, all right? And then now what we want to do is, refresh the page, make sure everything worked properly. Got no issues. Now what we want to do is actually fetch the balance. So we'll do that just like we did in the test like this. We'll say let token balance. This will be the balance of the actual user who's connected. So we want to load this balance right here. So we already have this information, and now we want to do this, okay? We got the ETH balance here. So here's ETH balance. Now we're going to do token balance. Say await token, right? Because we're able to talk to the smart contract now, we can call its functions. So we say token.methods, balance of, all right, let me say this.state.count, right? We're trying to get the balance of the person who's connected to the blockchain right now with MetaMask. And then finally, we can't just do this. We also have to say call, all right? And then we'll say console log, token balance, and then token balance. We'll also set the state, this.set state, token balance, and we'll do toString. And same here, we'll do toString. All right, so let that sink in. And then finally, we're going to do a default token balance here just below ETH balance, say 0. Okay, so let's refresh the page and see if it worked. All right, there we go. Token balance is 0. That's actually what we expect because this person has...
Vale, he creado una nueva variable en el estado token balance. Bueno, el token lo hemos metido también en estado y el token balance básicamente la línea de código que ha dicho. Vale, token await token methods balance of account. Vale, esto nos va a decir cuántos SensioCoins tiene esta cuenta, que como acabáis de ver, por defecto son 0 porque todavía no hemos comprado ninguno. Cuando empecemos a comprar, pues por cada Ether que gastemos aquí, que es este número de aquí, ¿vale? Un Ether sería todo esto, bueno, estos son 8 Ethers y medio. Por cada uno que gastemos, esto debería subir 100.
Hasn't purchased any tokens yet from the ETH swap exchange. So now really quickly, I want to talk about this, right? This call right here. So essentially, like, you have to do call whenever you're fetching information from the blockchain. There's two types of methods in Web3. There's call methods, which you can see here, and then there's send methods. Okay, so call methods, all they do is fetch information from the blockchain. They don't actually create any transactions. So you have to use call whenever you do that, all right? So whenever you do send, that's when you're actually signing transactions and putting new data on the blockchain, and you have to pay gas. So that's when you call send after those functions, which we'll see later in the tutorial. But I want to just make a mention of that while we're here. That's why you have to do call on the end of this. Right here, this just returns the function that's going to get executed with its arguments, and this actually executes it. But it just reads information. It doesn't actually write any information, right? Okay, so I'm going to take this away. So we loaded the token. We loaded the token balance. Next thing we want to do is load up ETH swap. Okay, so it's a very similar operation. We can just literally copy and paste this and modify it. Instead of load token, we can say load ETH swap. Okay, so we don't need the network ID. We already got that. But instead of token data, let's just change this. ETH swap data. And this will be ETH swap. All right, this will be ETH swap. Do this and this. And then let's see here, token. This will be ETH swap. And then we don't need to load the balance. All we need to do is load the smart contract. Okay. So let's see here. ETH swap data is this. All right, ETH swap, ETH swap. Let's just console. Let's do this next. Sorry. ETH.
Vamos a hacer eso. Token data. ETH swap data. Aquí queremos las dos cosas.
Swap equals empty object here. And then finally, let's just do console.log this state ETH swap. Make sure it worked. right, there we go. There's the eSwap contract. So that's pretty easy. So, you know, it took a lot of effort to get this going and to understand it. But, you know, it makes it a lot faster the second time whenever you load the second smart contract, because you just follow the same pattern. All right. So that loads both smart contracts into the project. Now, the next thing we want to do is create the user interface that we see here, so we can start filling out the information and then wire up the buy tokens function. Okay. So we're going to create this layout. All right. And then we're going to create a way to fill in the balance, and then we'll actually wire up the buy and sell. All right. So what I want to do now is go ahead and start adding more content to the page. What we'll do is create a new component. All right. And let's see here. Do it in here. This takes a while, and we let content. So if it's loaded, put it here. All right, so the loader value into when world on the page. Go ahead and just paste in some predefined template code, and then body, and then we've got the input. We need to do one more thing. So part of the project, but I would just copy and paste the files into your project, or and then I'm also going to drag it inside the main.js component. We're going to say token and each main. This is for the it's current we expect. So now we can do the same for the token balance, ether value, or ETH value. It should be ETH balance. Ether balance. We'll say let's just do the balance for now. Just .props ether balance. Save it. And looks like it didn't quite work. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Oh, I see what it is. I said ether balance. It should be ETH balance. Okay, awesome. So we see the balance. It's not formatted correctly, so let's format it. It's currently displaying the wave value. Let's actually display the ether value, or ETH value. So we just use our helper, web3 utils from way, right? Like we did in the test, and we do it like this. Boom. Window.web3 utils from way, this.props.token balance. Actually, this should be ether balance, ETH balance. ETH balance, and then ether. All right. All right, there we go. It's formatted. Now we can do the same for the token balance. Let's just do this again. And let's do token balance here. And boom, there we go. It's still 0. Formatted. Boom. Window. .web3.
Estas funciones son para convertir los números estos tan largos. Voy a quitarle los decimales. De momento lo voy a dejar así.
Tills from way, this.props.token balance. Actually, this should be ether balance, ETH balance. ETH balance, and then ether. All right. All right, there we go. It's formatted. Now we can do the same for the token balance.
Bueno, te lo da con decimales.
Let's just do this again. And let's do token balance here. And boom, there we go. It's still 0. That's what we expect. So we haven't purchased any tokens yet. But when we do buy them, we'll see that go up. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is wire up the user interface so whenever we actually do this input, it shows the amount of tokens that we want to purchase here. It does the conversion for us because, we see where. So you'll see what happens.
Nos interesa, ya lo haremos.
Equals. So let's go here, and then we'll do 1 input. So how we're going to do this is with something called onSubmit. This is going to be a handler that's going to fire whenever the form submits. So I think for the smart contract function that does the buy tokens function that we created, in the older videos when we did it in the test suite, now we want to do that here. But we don't really want to write the code for that inside this particular, part. We want to actually add it here instead of JS. All right, and we'll say what you want to do is call the function a lot like we did with get balance. All right, so await, token methods balance of. So we'll say this.state.eth swap. Right, that's the smart contract. Okay, right here, and we'll say methods. We'll say buy tokens. All right, and then we'll say send. All right, so remember I said that earlier. Talking about call methods in Web3 versus send methods. Well, this is a send method. Okay, so go back to Web3 documentation. See send. All right, this is how you do a method that creates a transaction. You have to tell it who's calling it. You have to tell it the value if you're sending in Ethereum, and et cetera, et cetera. So we'll say send. We'll pass in the user. Say value. We'll say from this.state.account. And we'll pass in the amount of Ethereum that they want to send. So we'll say value equals ether value. So we're going to put in, ether amount. Right? So ether amount, we're going to pass this into the function and send it in here. So when this happens, we're going to say this.set state. Loading. True. All right. And then essentially this is going to be asynchronous, so we want to wait for it to finish. We'll say on transaction hash, pass in the hash, and then do an arrow function here. It's getting kind of long, sorry. We'll set the loading to false. So we'll say this, set state loading false. Okay. So we could probably do this or something, make this a little more readable. Looks kind of silly too, but you get the idea. All right, so it's working. All right. So actually, you could do this as a one-liner. Let's do that. That might be a little cleaner. Let's see if it's compiles. No, it didn't work. Let's just go back and... Sorry, everybody. All right, awesome. Good enough for now. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make this all one line. This is starting to get kind of funny. It's kind of long, but at least it's correct. All right, so sorry about that little detour. So now what we want to do is pass this function down to the component. How do we do that? Well, we go down here, and we say buy tokens equals this.buy tokens. All right. And then now, go to main.js, and inside this function, we're going to actually purchase tokens because we have access to that now. So let's calculate the amount of ether we want to buy. We say let ether amount. Say ether amount equals this input.value to string. All right. That's this input right here. We said, this, right? We take that value and we say ether amount equals window.web3.utils two-way, right? Ether amount ether. And then we say this.props.buy tokens, and then pass in the ether amount. And now we submit this form. We should see a MetaMask confirmation pop up. Click sign it, and it should purchase. So before we do this, I hope it works. But take note the Ethereum balance is 97. The token balance is 0. So let's go buy 200 tokens. So we should see our ETH balance go down to like 95 point something, and our token balance go up to 200. So let's click swap, and I had a MetaMask confirmation pop up off screen. Click confirm, and boom, there we go. Awesome. So I've got 200 tokens, and my Ether balance went down. So it is working. Awesome. So
vale. He añadido este botón, bueno, os enseño el código. Vale, he hecho la función buy tokens. Vale, de momento, por defecto, solo quiero probarlo. Cuando clique al botón, pues compraremos o gastaremos un Ether, ¿vale? Y esto en el estado tenemos el ETH swap, el contrato inteligente, y de sus métodos llamamos al método buy tokens. Send para hacer la transacción, from mi cuenta y value esto. Y esto me tendría que dar 100 SensioCoins. No creo que funcione, la verdad, porque aquí me faltan cosas, pero bueno, le doy al botón compra. Given input is not a number. Given input object is not a number. Vale, le he clicado y me ha abierto el MetaMask, un pop-up. Buy tokens. Details. 0. No hay ninguna tasa de conversión disponible. Esto no está funcionando.
Tokens, and then pass an ether amount.
Vale. Tiene que ser un valor en string y además convertido al two-way. Utils two-way ETH amount to string. A ver ahora. Invalid number. No me deja convertir este número a string. ¿Qué va? Qué raro. Si pongo aquí el número en string, me funciona. Si le pongo esto to string, no va. Voy a probar otra cosa. Es posible que aquí le estuviese pasando el evento como primer parámetro. Ahora. Vale, ahora me ha salido el pop-up y ahora ya sí que sí me está diciendo que voy a gastar un Ether comprando tokens. Más tasas. Confirmar. Transacción confirmada. Si yo refresco, he perdido Ether, he ganado SensioCoins. Conseguido. Oh. Como habéis visto, no se ha refrescado. Vale, eso es porque de alguna forma tenemos que decirle que cuando se complete esta transacción refresque todos estos valores. Eso lo ha dicho, ¿no? En algún momento.
Oh, it is work. It's really not screen balance go. Click sign it, and it's your purchase tokens, and then pass in the Ether amount. And now we submit this form. We should see a MetaMask confirmation pop up. Click sign. Note the Ether purchase here. Say ETH we have now. So now what we want to do is start to get kind of funny. It's kind of long.
Vale, esta función tiene on transaction hash. Y swap by token send.on transaction hash. Set state. Quiero volver a calcular mis balances, tanto de token como de esto. Así que voy a hacer una función aquí, get balances. Y este get balance necesita mi cuenta, que la va a sacar del estado. Esto fuera. Esto fuera. Y este set state. La cuenta no la quiero, el token no lo quiero, el sobre no lo quiero. Por lo tanto, cogeré mi estado y sobreescribiré mi balance y mi toque balance. Set balances, mejor dicho. ¿Vale? Cuando se complete la transacción, llamará a la función setBalances, que volverá a coger los balances de mi cuenta. Me los pondrá en el estado. Y al cambiar el estado se volverá a renderizar el componente. Y estos valores también deberían aparecer. Vamos a ver si esto funciona, si no he hecho nada raro. Para empezar, aquí ya me está dando un problema. Y es que esto debería ser asíncrono. No tenemos token definido. State token. ¿Vale? No vale. Lo que podemos hacer es pasarle a esta función la cuenta y el token. No puedo hacer dos set states seguidos. Vamos a separar este estado en varios. Set account. Set balances. Y set contracts. Odio React. está llamando a la función, pero al calcular el balance no lo está calculando bien. O sea, no lo está recuperando bien. No sé, tendré que darle unas vueltecitas a esto para que funcione. Confirme transaction, pero no me lo ha actualizado. Quizás es que esta función se ejecuta, pero no se ha hecho efectivo la transferencia. Porque esto no es en tiempo real, ¿no? Suele tardar un poco. Lo dejo comentado y ya está. Pero bueno, que ya podemos comprar SensioCoins, al menos de forma así de prueba. No sé si podemos implementar la otra función ya, y así nos lo sacamos de encima.
All right, awesome. Good enough for now. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna make this all one line. This is starting to get kind of funny. It's kind of long, but down. So we should still, you know, you can see the rate calculation work. The main component, this is the main content, I guess I should say. This is where the buy form currently is. And then we have the nav bar. This to form, or buy form, or this form. Let's just replace it with the form. This dot props dot. Just make sure it, you know, it works properly. Form. Just say, you know, say current form, but form content, and actually changing that. So by change, let's fetch this from the completed project. Our form. So right now they don't do anything. They just, and then we'll say, let's do this. And if it runs out the render function, let's them. All right. And then 100. Okay. And then for the output, this will be ether balance or ETH balance. All right. And then I'll do ETH logo. Okay. And then exchange rate should, we could say, you know, 105 is wire up the form submission, sell tokens here. And it's going to blow up because it doesn't know what sell tokens is or ether amount. So the function, that's why create it. That's because we're not calling the function. Say sell tokens. All right. And the sell tokens function is going to work a little bit differently. So will be the token amount. It's going to be the opposite. Now, this is really the final thing. Once this works, the entire project should work. But here's a very critical thing. I want to go back to the test and remind you that, you know, selling tokens is a two-step process. All right. There's two functions at play. If you go to the contracts, actually, let's look at the test first. Whenever we do sell tokens, remember the investor must approve the tokens before the purchase. All right. Because the ETH swap token, the ETH swap exchange contract sells it for the investor, and the investor must say yes, approve the tokens before that happens. All right. So we have to call this function and then this function. So inside app.js, we'll say this, say ETH swap methods sell tokens. Actually, no, sorry. We're not going to call this on the exchange. We're going to call them a token first. So token methods. All right. And then approve. Right. Must be approved first. And we want to do the approval to this state ETH swap address. All right. We want to do the token amount. We want to say, yes, you can sell the number of tokens that I'm telling you to. All right. Then we do send. We don't do value here. We just say from this state.account. All right. And then on transaction hash, that's okay. Once that's finished, then
token methods approve. State ETH swap address.
Tokens that I'm telling you to. All right. Then we
y la cantidad.
You send. We don't do value here. We just say from this. State that account.
Send.
All right, then on transaction hash, that's okay.
From account. Vale.
Okay, once that's finished, then we sell the tokens. Say this, that state, ETH. Sorry, ETH.
Y en el on transaction hash.
Swap methods, sell tokens, token amount. All right, and then send. So just like we did here, I'm just gonna copy this like, literally. Oops, sorry. And then we copy this. All right, and then we set the state loading to false. All right, now let's give it a try. So let's go back to the page here. So here's the buy. Let's make sure it still works. Let's buy 100 tokens. Click swap. MetaMask will pop up. Click confirm. All right, so there we go. We got 100 more tokens. Now let's go sell those 100 tokens. 100. We should get 1 Ether back. Click swap. Oh, we got a problem. All right, so this .props.sell tokens is not a function, so it's in the sell form. All right, let's just trace it all the way down. So sell tokens is here. All right, and then sell tokens is here. This .sell tokens, that looks right. So now let's go to the main component. Sell token. That's the problem. Sell token, no S. Let's just keep going though. Make sure the sell form.
Vale, he añadido un nuevo botón que se llama vende, ¿vale? Y esto va a llamar a una función sellTokens que por defecto va a vender 100 tokens para recuperar un Ether, ¿vale? Y en esta función sellTokens, ¿vale? Aquí tenéis la implementación. Primero calculamos el valor, igual que hacíamos en la de vender o comprar, en este caso. Convertir a esos 100 a el número este con 18 ceros detrás. Y llamaremos al método del contrato token para aprobar esta transacción, ¿vale? Le diremos que el exchange, nuestra aplicación, va a poder enviar esta cantidad a esta cuenta, ¿vale? Y una vez eso se complete, ¿vale? Esta transacción se complete, le diremos a la aplicación que le envíe esos tokens a la cuenta que los acaba de comprar. A ver si funciona. Vale, si funciona, este 600 ahora debería pasar a 500 y devolvernos los Ethers. Invalid address. Invalid address. Argument address. Value undefined. Vamos a ver el vídeo porque probablemente le pase también.
Right, perfect. This props that sell tokens. Let's try it again. So we bought, it still works. Let's just try again, just for sanity's sake. 1 Ether, confirm. All right, and then sell. Let's do 100 tokens. And then we should see the balance get down to 350 if it worked. So swap. So do you want to spend your DApp? Yes, we do. Click confirm. And then a second confirmation could come up. Click confirm. And boom, there we go. We sold the tokens back. Our balance went down to 350 and our Ether balance went back up to 94. The instant. All right. So this 100. All right, and then sell.
No sé si he puesto algo mal, quizás. Approve. Swap address. Value. Send. From state account. On transaction hash.
So just like we did and hash, that's okay. Once that, we just say, can sell the number of tokens. All right, telling you to. All right. Then we do send. We don't do value here. We just say from this.state.account. All right, then on transaction hash, that's okay. Once that's finished, then we sell the tokens. Say this.state ETH swap methods sell tokens, token amount. All right, and then send. So just like we did here, I'm just gonna copy this like literally. Oops, sorry. And then we copy this. All right, and then we set the state loading to false. All right, now let's give it a try. So let's go back to the page here.
Debería funcionar. Comprar funciona. Vender. Se queja. Invalida address. Me ha petado la aplicación. Bueno, pues lo vamos a dejar aquí. Porque creo que esto a veces pasa y tengo que reiniciar el ordenador para que me funcione. Pero bueno, hemos conseguido comprar SensioCoins. Y ahora teníamos problemillas vendiéndolos. Pero bueno, seguro que lo solucionaremos prontillo. Así que nada. En un stream o dos más. Ya podéis haceros con vuestras SensioCoins. Chao, chao. Hasta luego.